Well, welcome back, and I want to tell Mike, great job on going over the product, the legal and identity theft plans. Do you feel you understand our products better? Even those that have maybe been in the business for a while probably have a better review of what's covered, what's not covered. It does take some time, and definitely review the video so that you can get that information down. Well, we know now we have a great company, Prepaid Legal Services. We have a great product and products that we can take to the marketplace. Let's now focus going out and getting some groups. How does that sound? I earn $500,000 a year from Prepaid Legal simply by following the success system. So anyone listening to this information can do the same thing if they just follow the system. But I like a system because it breaks down to components. We're going to, how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. We're going to kind of break the system down now, and it's called the success system in group marketing. It's made up of 5 components. And the first one is leads, getting leads. We're going to break that down. Where do you get leads? Where do I go to open a group? And we're going to, hopefully by the end of that session, you'll know there's so many places to go get leads. We're going to talk about prospecting the leads. What do you do when you got a piece of paper that has a company on it? What do you say? What's the next step? Prospecting the company. And then we're going to talk about decision maker meetings where you actually sit down with HR or owners and do a meeting with them and go over the proposal. We're going to talk tomorrow about the enrollments, going into the employees and actually writing the employees, and then the 5th step, retention. This is a step that we've added recently, the retention step and servicing groups, and what a powerful step that is, building a long-term book of business. We've got Miss Linda Pitt that's going to be sharing some servicing tips with you that are just phenomenal. So let's get started. Step number 1. Getting qualified leads, okay? Now, everyone that joins group marketing, this is one of the first questions they have. Where do I go? I mean, you know, they look out their window and say, what's a group? What does one of these things look like? And what's taken and what's not taken, and all of those questions. So I'm going to give you a quick list of places to go to get ideas of companies to qualify. And then we're going to tell you exactly the 3 things you do to qualify a lead, okay? So how do you get a lead? The first one is called your power list, okay? Here's kind of a breakdown of a power list. Number 1, who do you know that owns a business? Great place to start. So this is probably in your warm market, someone that you know that owns a business. Who do you know that works in upper level management? This could be a person that helps in decision-making in a company and could be a valuable person to talk to about our products. Who do you know that works in human resources? Wow, that puts you right in the right spot. Who do you know, who is your doctor and who's your dentist? Who is your children's doctor and the children's dentist? Who repairs your car? Auto shop type people. Where did you buy your last car? A car dealership. Who did your mortgage or sold you your home? And what bank do you use? Those are all fabulous places to go, and we call that your power list, a great place to just get started. You don't want to start in group marketing going after some just name out of the phone book. You want to start with some people that you know and are already familiar with. I know when Linda Pitt started in the business, that's what she did. She wrote up a power list, and it was a big list of places. She already knew these people. She didn't know all the details about them. She needed to still qualify the lead, but it gave her a big list of leads to start talking to. And also another key point here is selling some individual plans, not tackling gigantic group accounts at first, but go sell 3 or 4 individual plans. What are you going to be practicing there? Your presentation, making sure your presentation flows well. You don't want to have your first membership presentation in front of a company that's a decision maker for 100 employees, because it's probably not going to be a very good presentation, just like Mike's first presentation, just like my first presentation. You want to kind of test that out on some smaller stuff, like a real estate company. We'll talk about some of the little bank draft groups that you could do that just kind of get your feet wet in group marketing and get you comfortable and get your confidence built. Person says, well, I've done 10 membership presentations and haven't sold any memberships. I want to do group. We really don't want you to do group. We don't want you on this side of the business. Stay over there, you got a bad presentation, because 10 out of 10, 0 out of 10 is bad, okay? With our products and the services we have, you've got to fix that first, and it's better to fix it with small individual things. It's like riding a bike. You're going to be wobbling and balanced at first. There's no way you can just hop on a bike and perfectly ride. You're going to fall off a few times. Do that on smaller groups, and then work up into some of these, maybe even these first ones will come a little bit later as your confidence is there. And it's a process. Before you get good, you got to be bad. And don't be afraid to go through that process, because everyone goes through it. I went through it. I don't necessarily share that story as my recruiting story, but the truth of it is my first group enrollment was in front of 30 police officers, and only 2 signed up, and both of them canceled. It was not a good presentation. Now, I learned from that. I could have quit, and it would have cost me $4.8 million to quit, so I'm glad I didn't quit. And just like Wilburn Smith said, out sitting in front of that firehouse, he could have quit. He could have drove back. But he didn't. He stuck in there. And so every success story in prepaid legal is going to have a story like that of, it was tough, I didn't do real well, I was wobbly and I was imbalanced, but now I'm balanced and I make $100,000 a year. You're going to hear that consistently, and you're going to have to go through that same process. Don't be afraid of that. So let's go back to kind of where do you get ideas? Reference USA is a great one. You can access this through most public library websites. Now, your public library might not provide access to Reference USA, but there's other libraries in the country that do. And, you know, get a library card and you can access Reference USA. It's a great resource site for business lists. And they're constantly gathering new data. So you could, in Reference USA, get a list of every company here in Oklahoma City, for example, that has over 25 employees where the decision makers are made, where the decisions are made locally. And that would produce you a list with the contact names, the phone numbers, the addresses, a great resource, Reference USA. Google, okay? This is no stranger to most of us. Just Google it. You could put in their ambulance companies in Oklahoma City. I mean, and sometimes mentally we think that we're limited to how many words we can type in Google per day. There's no limit. I don't know if you knew that. And you're not charged for it. Just put them in there. Streamline that list. Get it down to a good list. Google's a great source. Here's a great one, yellowpages.com. Just a quick way to, you go to yellowpages.com, put ambulance companies, state of Oklahoma. Do the whole state. There's a list of every ambulance company in the state of Oklahoma. Now, it's not qualified yet. You don't know if all those companies that are shown there are locally based, the decision makers are local and all that. You don't know how many employees they have, but you've got a name. You've got a place to start. Dun & Bradstreet, online. Most of these resources now are online and free of charge. Dun & Bradstreet's a great business resource for finding companies. Delivery trucks. I found some of my best groups. In fact, one of our gals, Missy Young, did an enrollment yesterday. And the way we found this, we were driving through town and a big sanitation truck passed us, and it was called Tidy Waste. And I said, hey, do you know about that group? She goes, no. And I wrote it down. We called, talked to the owner, and that day got the group set up. And that's just driving down the road, seeing a truck. And some of you are driving down the road a day, and you're not filling up 5 or 6 or 7 sheets. And you could sit in an intersection and do group sales. As long as there's a stop sign there and those trucks stop, you write their number down. That's a lead. Books of lists. A lot of these are online. Most states today provide what's called a manufacturer directory, where through like the Department of, what is the department that would handle that? Economic Development. If, Brian, you're going to produce a gadget here in Oklahoma, they want you to use Oklahoma manufacturers. So they have a list, sometimes $30, $40. Here's a list of every manufacturing company in the state of Oklahoma, number of employees, contact information, everything. Great little $40 investment. You can, again, lots of online resources to find those things. So don't be afraid of the internet. Don't be afraid of using the internet to gather information and list. What I do at this stage, after I kind of get a list, is I use what's called a group contact form. Now, this is just a simple form. Looks just like this, where you, and here's kind of the steps. Copy 100 of them on color paper. Now, if you want to make $100,000 a year, copy 200 or 300. You're going to use a lot of these sheets. But at least 100 of them, you copy those on a color paper. You can pick the color, your favorite color or whatever, and you hole punch them, and then you put them in a notebook just like this. So now this becomes my lead book, okay? And I've got 100 copies in here. You 3-hole punch them, put them in a 3-ring binder. We have these little covers available so you can, just buy a notebook and slide one of these in it. Now it's a Harvard notebook. You got all your Harvard leads in here. Your tickler file, what that is maybe a monthly tab system in the back, where you might have a separate tickler file system Some of you do it online through ACT or some of those other management databases, but some kind of a system where if this group says, well, call us back in 6 months, you're going to immediately get those kind of things. You know what? You're going to be in the business in 6 months, and you want to call that company back. So have a system where you just simply take this sheet out, go 6 months forward, and put it in. And that's called a tickler file. It reminds you to contact that company, and then fill it up. And so now we're in the process of filling it up. What are we going to do? We're going to take all those resources we just looked at and start writing names of companies in there. That's the first step, is just get a lot of names and go wild with it. Get a lot of them. And this is not a 1 week or a 20-day process. I can fill 100 sheets up in less than 5 hours. So don't say, wow, I did really good. I got 3 more in my book today. That's not a full day work. I could do 100 in 5 hours. There's just so many out there. I could sit at an intersection in a major city and fill one up do 100 sheets in about 2 hours. You know, there's a lot of companies. Another group I found, I just was having lunch. I was out training Melanie Davis in Houston, Texas, one of our executive directors, almost a $100,000 earner with the company. And I was training her down in Houston, and we went and had lunch at this little barbecue place, and one of the guys was getting a drink up there, and I saw his shirt had a fertilizer company. I said, no, is that where you work? He goes, yeah. I go, where's the company? We were done eating. He said, well, let's just go down the loop, turn around, there's our office. I said, well, if I was going to see someone there that handles benefits, who would that be? And he said, oh, that's Charlie Edwards, or whatever the name was. And so we walked out of lunch with a lead. Okay, so I've got an idea. I've got a place to head to, and it's a mile away. So I walked in, and then we started using this posture. When I walked in, I said, hey, is Charlie in? He goes, hold on just a moment. Can I tell him who's calling? Tell him Mark's here. Something like that, and Charlie comes out, and long story short, total fringe benefit to all of their employees, a lead at lunchtime. So there's just so many out there, and you put them on a sheet, and then let's talk about qualifying that lead, okay? Qualifying it kind of means taking it to the next step. We're going to filter it now. Now, you might end up taking this piece of paper that you wrote ABC Company on and throwing it away if it doesn't go through the qualification process. So let's talk about eliminating some of these now. I've got ABC Company, don't know much about it, so what am I going to do? Google ABC Company, 8 Oklahoma, it'll pop up. They might have a company website. You might be able to find some information online about them. What's another way to find out information? Call them. You could just call the company. You're not limited. People say, well, I called them. Did you get how many employees they have? They wouldn't give that information. Guess what you could do? Call them back. See, some of us mentally were like, well, I already called them a month ago. It's like, call them again. Probably the same operator's not even working, So there's no limit. Just get the information. First thing on qualifying the lead, is the company already an active group? Well, quite frankly, in a lot of your market areas that you're from, it's not. Okay, you could just, like Iowa, we looked at that, just wide open. And in most states, most companies are not active groups. So you could skip this qualification step and be okay. You'll find out fairly quick if it's a group or not. But you can also call group marketing and check the availability of the group if it's already a prepaid legal group or not. Yeah, you wouldn't want to spend a whole lot of time, Norm, in a group, meetings, setting up, and it's already a group. If it's already a group, move on, find one of those millions of companies that are not yet groups. Step number 2, how many employees? Now, why is this an important step? Because you really don't, at some stage, you need to start raising this number a little bit and not spending a lot of time with a group of 4 people. There's a lot of energy, a lot of follow-up, a lot of time involved. And there was a gentleman in my business that focused on very small groups. And I didn't focus on large groups, but I focused on groups of 50 or 60 employees. And so he would work more of a 5 or 6 employee group, and I would work a 50 or 60 employee group. And guess what? It took exactly the same amount of time to develop the relationships and go through the process, but our payday was substantially different. I would walk out with 30 to 40 memberships, and he would walk out with 3 to 4. And I don't know if you know a whole lot about the marketing plan, but 30 to 40 would pay more than 3 to 4, okay? So now start low. It's okay to do a group with 6 employees if it's your first group. That's a perfect group, because if you get in there and mess it all up, you didn't mess much up. So that's okay to start with that. That's how we want you to start. But at some point you'll say, okay, I'm not going to work any groups under 15. or I'm not going to work any groups under 20. You're going to put a new bar in there because your time becomes very valuable. And you want to know how many employees are a part of that group. And then a very important step is, are the benefit decisions made locally? Now, you can't always ask the question in that format. You can't always say, Carol, are the benefit decisions made here in Ada? You might have to ask that several times, because she might say, yes, we handle benefits here, because that's not really what you ask. Do you handle benefits here, but are the decisions to add new benefits handled here? Sometimes you have to rephrase that a few different ways to make sure you're communicating with the person you're talking to. You want to really avoid, in gathering this information, talking to your decision maker. You can talk to anyone in the company but the decision maker. You want to have a kind of a qualified lead before you approach the decision maker, so your posture is proper. You don't want to ask these types of questions to a decision maker. So many times you'll see me sitting out in the parking lot of a company gathering information so I can have the right posture when I walk through the front door. All right, now let's talk about organizing your schedule real quick. Recently, Kim Ferris did a training in Las Vegas at an advanced group training, and these are some of the key points I picked from her. One, best days to call on groups are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. As a group marketing associate, we pretty much just work 3 days a week. Monday's not typically a great day to go out and call on groups, and Friday definitely is not, especially in the summertime. But so we really have 3 hard days that we go out at least prospecting, and that's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Set a weekly goal of how many new qualified leads. What's a qualified lead? It's a company name that now you've qualified to make sure the decision maker is local, enough employees, and that it's not already a group. And set a goal of a weekly number there, and also how many enrollments you'll have. And Mike does a lot of these group blitz days where he just says, okay, I'm going out and getting a lot today. Well, how many is a lot in a day? I've done a lot of field training with people, and typically in about a 4-hour day, okay, that's a full day for me, but 4 hours, I can do about 20 qualified leads. Qualified out, not just leads. I could do 50 to 60 leads in 4 hours, but I could qualify them out, at least 20 in about 4 hours. So don't think, well, this week I got 20 qualified leads is really necessarily a huge number, because it only represents about 4 hours of work. And if you work for 4 hours a week in a business, you're going to get paid for 4 hours a week, which is not a lot of money. So if you want to make $100,000 a year, you'd want to make sure that qualified lead part is high, and then that's going to result in decision maker appointments, which we'll talk about next. So there's how you get leads, lots of resources available. And I have a picture of one of my favorite movies, The Matrix, up there. And the reason is, if you kind of remember the movie The Matrix, if you saw it, at first he's trying to figure out the Matrix and figure out how to battle these Mr. Smiths, right? And they're just whipping him. I mean, they're beating him up. And you're going to go out in the Matrix of group marketing and get beat up a little bit like he did. They'd throw him off buildings, chop him up, slug him, shoot him, you know. But at the end of the movie, if you kind of remember, he sees the Matrix. He finally gets it, and he sees it all as a matrix, and he's then able to control everything in the Matrix. And these guys shoot, all 3 of them shoot bullets at him, and he stops the bullets. That's one of my favorite scenes. He just stops all the bullets, and he picks them up. Everything slows down. He's calm. He picks one of the bullets up and drops it, and then the others drop. And, you know, just full control, and then he beats the one guy up, and then the other 2 run, you know. And that's kind of how your opposition's going to be out there. Once you get that confidence level, the confidence of a Dave Gilday or Dave Paperno or Kim Ferris, you know, these people produce thousands of membership sales a month or a year. You know, they're able to go out there and just understand. And another aspect of the Matrix is seeing that there's so many groups out there. A new person might travel around and get a little frustrated, like, I don't know where else to go. And if you see the Matrix, it's like you can go anywhere. There's thousands of everyone works somewhere. So let's say it was your lead generating process just to talk to 5 people an hour. Well, what would be the question to ask those 5 people an hour? Where do you work? And who handles benefits there? And you're already, and do you know the phone number at work? Now, some will, some won't. The ones that do, write the number. You're almost halfway done with the qualified lead. So there, you know, whatever the process, be excited about filling that up. This is a book, for example, that Mike uses. This is his actual lead book. He's got it in to contact. I mean, just a great system. You can just see how full it is of qualified companies, These are printouts directly from Reference USA. And you have to really develop your own management system. We're trying to kind of give you a head start here, but make it effective and always be adding new leads to the process. That's very important that you do a group blitz day, once a week or once every couple weeks to really fill up the new businesses that you're going to be working with.